Range script loaded, you can now press Escape, select Choose Slot, and pick your aircraft. The A-29 Bravo has 5 weapon stations, 1 on the fuselage centerline and 4 underwing, but rockets can be mounted only on the wing pylons. On its current development phase, the DCS A-29 can load the following types of rockets. Mk151HE, it's a 2.75 inches rocket mounted on 19 round pods, for anti-personnel use, with a high explosive fragmentation warhead. Mk156WP, same as the 151, but for producing smoke, with a white phosphorus warhead. On the A-29 Bravo they are mounted on 7 round pods. On this training mission, we will use the high explosive variant, mounted on pods of 19 rockets each, for a total of 76 rounds. For this training mission, we will use a weapons range that uses objects created by the 476th Virtual Fighter Group, and a weapons range script developed by the user Sirabob, which will allow you to gauge your accuracy and monitor your progress. On this mission, you will launch the rockets firing short salvos for higher precision, during several passes over the range target, in order to better practice the delivery profile. Perform the passes on a west to east general direction, so that the mission logic can keep track of them. You can make as many passes as you want, while you still have any rockets left. You can access the attack statistics calling up the F10 option of the communications menu. Manually tune the COM2 radio to 121.0 MHz, which is the VHF frequency of air traffic control, at Anapa Air Base. First, on the UFCP press the COM2 Quick Select button. The UFCP will then display the COM2 radio setup page. The man field's current manual frequency should be already selected, enclosed by asterisks. Enter 1, 2, 1, and then press the Enter key. Press spacebar once the field contains 121.000 MHz. At this point, the radio is still on preset tuning mode, as denoted by the squares that enclose the label PRST. Press 0M cell while the cursor is still on the frequency field. To change the radio to manual tuning mode, do it now. The UFCP display will automatically return to its home page, where you can see that COM2 is indeed tuned to 121.000 MHz. We are now ready to contact ANAPA's ATC. Make sure to bind the COM switch onto your HOTAs, or onto keyboard key combinations. Then, whenever you want to use the COM2 radio, just press the binding corresponding to COM aft. To ask for taxi clearance, contact ATC by pressing the binding corresponding to COM aft, to use the COM2 radio. The DCS communications menu should have appeared. Now select F1, Request Taxi to Runway. Please note that ATC might take a while to answer if there is other traffic on the taxiways. Just wait and eventually you will be given clearance. Press spacebar once you hear the controller's answer. Take note of the runway assigned. For this mission the active runway should be runway 22. The diagram shows the taxi route you must follow. Before taxi. Auto rudder, right-click it, switch to its momentary ENGA position, to enable the automatic rudder trim system, which compensates the propeller torque during takeoff. Taxi light switch, set to on. The nose gear taxi lights will illuminate. Your aircraft is ready to start the flight. Increase throttle and let the aircraft move forward. Once the aircraft is moving, Press the wheel brakes, with your HOTAS or the W key, to confirm their operation. Release the wheel brakes and resume the taxi. Be careful of other traffic that may be near you. Good, now turn right and proceed along the taxiway E, towards the runway 22. This is taxiway E, proceed forward, towards the runway 22. Stop the aircraft just short of runway 22. We will now contact ATC for takeoff permission. Press the COM aft binding to use the COM 2 radio to open the communications menu. Select F1, request takeoff. Once the tower grants permission, take note of the current QFE to calibrate our barometric altimeter. It should be 29.62 inches of mercury. Then, enter the runway, align with its center line and stop there. Takeoff final checks, verify that there are no warnings on the right MFD. Flaps. Extend the flaps down, by clicking on the highlighted lever or pressing F, as we are carrying underwing stores on this mission. Takeoff trim, set a pitch trim of 0.2 nose up, to have a smoother takeoff. Calibrate barometric altimeter. ATC informed us earlier that the current atmospheric pressure is 29.62 inches of mercury. Convert to hectopascals multiplying by 33.864, giving an equivalent QFE of 1003 hectopascals. Input that value using the highlighted knob. Taxi light switch, set to off. Landing light switch, set to on. This completes the takeoff checklist. We are now ready for takeoff. Follow the usual procedure. Hold wheel brakes, increase throttle to 90% RPM, check instruments and alerts. If everything is well, release the brakes and accelerate to maximum RPM. Use nose wheel steering to maintain directional control and keep the aircraft on the runway's centerline. At 105 knots, pull back on the control stick to raise the nose to a takeoff attitude and allow the aircraft to fly itself off the ground. Lift off. We are now on the air. Use trim to maintain a steady climb. Once on the air, retract the landing gear, with the G key or by clicking the gear handle. Retract the flaps before reaching 150 knots, using the highlighted lever, the HOTAS or the F key. You may now climb and accelerate to cruise speed. Your heading should be the one indicated by the highlighted caret, climb speed 180 knots. Adjust pitch trim to keep the flight path marker over the 10-degree horizontal pitch line, until reaching a cruise altitude of 5,000 feet. Please honor the speeds we will instruct, in order to have enough time between waypoints to cover all of the lesson subjects. You are over waypoint 1. Now, turn right towards waypoint 2. Maintain 200 knots and climb to arrive at the next waypoint at 5,000 feet altitude. The procedure for launching rockets is the same as for the bombs. Master arm safety switch knob, set to live. Late arm switch, lift its cover with a right click, and set to on, with a second right click. On the UFCP, press the AG quick button to activate the air to ground mode. Next, press the Baro radar alt quick button, to enable the use of the radar altimeter on the targeting computations, to improve accuracy. You can tell it is enabled, because the HUD will show CCIP, R and the rocket targeting circle will appear. The circle denotes the spread area of the rockets, an X over this circle means that you are not on a dive yet. You will have to place the aircraft on a dive of at least 15 degrees, then the X will disappear. When the reticle circle completely envelopes the target, you will be able to fire, by pressing the weapon release button on the stick. We will use the store's management system page on the left MFD, to configure our weapons. Click on the highlighted SMS button. As we had previously selected air to ground mode on the UFCP, the SMS automatically shows the AG page. The highlighted button allows you to toggle amongst the various weapons carried, but on this mission you only carry a single type of weapon. The rockets are designated not with their rocket code, but with their pod code, LAU-61 on this case. The number prefix indicates the number of rounds remaining on the pod. This is the release mode. It can be set to single, pairs, or salvo. Set it to salvo, this will fire rockets from every pod simultaneously. This is the ripple quantity, it is used to launch several rockets in sequence. Ripple is quantified in pulses, one rocket from each selected station will launch for each pulse. Set a value of 2, so that each press of the weapon release button will fire exactly 2 rockets from each pod, for a total of 8 rockets. Click ENT to enter the selected value and return to the main SMS page. If you entered a wrong value, press CLR to correct it. This is the ripple interval, expressed in milliseconds between each rocket launch. On this mission we desire minimum dispersion, so leave it at 0. Finally, here you set the delivery mode to be used for firing rockets. Click on the button to see the available modes. CCIP, Constantly Computed Impact Point, requires a dive delivery and enabling the radar altimeter, for proper accuracy. Manual mode, using a predefined sight depression value, which depends on the dive angle, speed and release altitude. During this training mission, we will use CCIP, so be sure to have that selected and then click on AG to return to the main SMS page. Good, the rockets are now ready to use. Launch them by pressing the stick's weapon release button. Do not use the stick's trigger as it is meant for guns only. We have reached waypoint 2. Turn right to enter the weapon's range on an easterly heading. Unlike bombs, you can dive directly onto the rocket target, as the nose of your aircraft will not hide it. This target is at the north of the range, enclosed by a square border. Don't confuse it with the bombing target. Begin the dive, keeping the targeting reticle centered over the rocket target. Reduce throttle and extend the air brake to avoid overspeeding during the dive. Wait until the HUD sight circle encloses only the desired target, then press the weapon release button. Pull back on the stick to exit the dive and climb back up, retract the air brake and increase throttle. Good pass. Turn back 180 degrees towards a westerly heading, and perform another pass. Start climbing back to at least 5,000 feet. Check the SMS to confirm that there are rockets selected for the next pass. You have no more rockets left. You should now navigate towards waypoint 4 to return to Anapa Air Base. Fly at a speed of 200 knots, to have time to explain some more things. Before deactivating the armament, we will take this opportunity to learn how you can jettison stores in case of an emergency, like engine loss of power for example. I have paused the mission in order to have enough time to explain. Emergency jettison. If the situation requires quick action, you can jettison all weapons by simply press and hold the highlighted button. It will first change the left MFD to the SMS page, and there you will see that within a couple of seconds, all pylon loads will be jettisoned. This emergency button works irrespective of the setting of the MASS or late arm switches. Apart from the emergency jettison, you can also jettison stores in a more selective way, using the SMS page. The procedure is as follows. Set master arm safety switch to live, and late arm to on. As we have just fired the rockets, these switches are already on the correct position for doing a jettison. Call up the SMS page on any MFD. Currently, you have the SMS already displayed on the left MFD, so we will use that. Press the button next to Selective Jettison, SJ, the jet page will show up. Use the buttons next to ST1 through ST5, to select which stations we want to jettison. By default, all stations are selected, indicated by a box on each, so actually you have to unselect those stations that you don't want to jettison. As a practical exercise, we will now jettison the outboard LAU-61 rocket launchers, which are empty, so employ the ST buttons to have only ST1 and ST5 selected, boxed. Press spacebar to continue once you have selected ST1 and ST5. Once all the stations you want to jettison are selected, press the weapon release button on the flight stick and they will be jettisoned. The SMS page will update instantly, so you will know the pods were jettisoned even without looking at them. Good, the selected rocket pods were jettisoned. Finally, press the button next to SJ, to return to the SMS page. Deactivate the armament. With this procedure, master arm safety switch knob, set to safe. Late arm switch, set to off and close its cover. On the UFCP, press the nav quick button, to change mode back to navigation. You can check your range results, by calling up the communications menu, select F10, Other, then select F1, Range, finally click F3, My Bombing Results. Please, press spacebar once you have reviewed your results. You have completed the main subject of this training mission, select an option. Press backspace if you want to fly back and land at Anapa, or press spacebar to end the training now. Okay, you have chosen to proceed and practice a landing at Anapa Air Base. Continue straight ahead until you reach waypoint 4 of our flight plan. To ask for landing clearance, contact Anapa's ATC by pressing the binding corresponding to COM aft, to use the COM2 radio. On the communications menu select, F5, ATC, F1, Anapa, F1, inbound.
Anapa, infield.
The tower will answer the heading and distance to its landing approach point, which we will ignore since our current waypoint is already at that point, but it will also inform you that Anapa's current QFE is 29.77 inches of mercury, and that we have been assigned runway 22. Press F12 to clear the communications menu. Press spacebar once you receive the ATC's answer. You have reached waypoint 4. Reduce speed and altitude. Turn right 90 degrees, towards Anapa. Perform a visual landing. Once you get nearer Anapa, ATC will ask you to contact tower. At that point press COM aft and then select F1, request landing.
Anapa, in field 1-1, request landing. Enfield 1-1, Anapa, cleared to land, runway 22.
Touchdown, set throttle to idle. Press backspace if you want to end the mission now, or spacebar if you want to practice the taxi to the parking ramp.
Enfield 1-1, taxi to parking area.
This is taxiway C. Proceed forward to apron 2, park on spot number 23. Well done, this is spot number 23. You have finished this training mission. Press spacebar to exit the mission.